are blocked. Let's now turn our attention to the United States, where the Democratic Convention entered its second day, with former President Barack Obama and his wife, Michelle Obama, held a large crowd of party members spellbound with resounding speeches on the need for consolidated support to help Vice President Kamala Harris win the presidential seat in November. Let's bring you more details in our next report.
The U.S. Democratic Party nominee, Kamala Harris, has been given resounding endorsements by the former President of the United States, Barack Obama, and his wife, Michelle, at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. They appealed to party supporters across the U.S. to turn out and vote to defeat former President Donald Trump in November. Mr. Obama told the people not to give their votes to Donald Trump, whose presidency, he said, was characterized by bluster and chaos.
America's ready for a new chapter. America's ready for a better story. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris is ready for the job. This is a person who has spent her life fighting on behalf of people who need a voice and a champion. As an Attorney General of the most populous state in the country, she fought big banks and for-profit colleges, securing billions of dollars for the people they had scammed. Who will fight for me? Who's thinking about my future, about my children's future, about our future together? One thing is for certain, Donald Trump is not losing sleep over that question. Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. It has been a constant stream of gripes and grievances that's actually been getting worse now that he's afraid of losing to Kamala.
In her speech, Michelle Obama told the crowd that with Kamala Harris in the race, hope is making a comeback. The former U.S. First Lady also emphasized that Democrats must vote overwhelmingly to erase any doubt of their victory and render useless any effort to suppress the party.
The steel of her spine, the steadiness of her upbringing, the honesty of her example, and yes, the joy of her laughter and her light. It couldn't be more obvious. Of the two major candidates in this race, only Kamala Harris truly understands the unseen labor and unwavering commitment that has always made America great. Now, unfortunately, we know what comes next. We know folks are going to do everything they can to distort her truth. My husband and I sadly know a little something about this. For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hard-working, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black.
All the Democratic Party popular members praised Ms. Kamala Harris and lashed out Donald Trump repeatedly, emphasizing his presidency was characterized by chaos. Mr. Obama laid emphasis on America's preparedness for a new chapter, adding that Ms. Kamala Harris is ready for the job. The couple also warned that amid the enthusiasm for Ms. Harris's campaign, Democrats should not lose sight of being in an extremely tight race, noting that the election would be decided in a handful of key swing states.
For more on U.S. politics, the Democratic National Convention, I am now being joined by media analyst and CEO and Case Consulting, Ike Ogbebile. He joins me from the United States via Skype. Good to have you join us.
Good day, Precious, and thanks for having me.
So I know you have been following day one and day two done and dusted. What have been your key takeaways from the 2 days so far?
Well, I guess day one was super exciting. I think it was the handing over of the torch from President Joe Biden over to Vice President Kamala Harris. That day one was very emotional for most of us. We were watching with excitement, and the fact that the energy in that room was something else. But day two was a different beast altogether when the Obamas came out and kind of reminded America the importance of why this election has to be fought and fought with an intention to win. The Obamas made it very clear that we are ready for the next chapter, and we're super, super excited of what's going on in the Democratic Party, because before we were concerned that we had two old candidates and no one knew where the country was actually going. But now we have a lot of vibrant people who have come out from several different blocks. Precious, it's a new day, and I'm happy.
And you know, there are lots of people who feel like you, especially within the Democratic Party. But let's talk about the speech by former President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle. What impact do you think their message will have on undecided voters? And that message of hope, will it resonate with Americans?
It does. You remember that Barack Obama is the most popular living president as we speak. And he carried along for 8 years, not just people in his party, but independents throughout that whole process. And he has become more popular after leaving office. Both him and his wife are almost like political rock stars. And so when they speak to people, they cut across all races, they cut across all ages, they cut across all kind of demographics you can actually think of. And that's the most important thing. So when Barack Obama speaks about hope, you can see hope. Something that we haven't seen in a long time in this part of the world. Precious, his message was clear, it was precise, and he kept on reminding folks that this hope will only come if we put our faith to work.
And I must just add to the conversation, look, talk about a power couple. The first people who come to your mind is the former president and his wife. Great speakers.
Correct.
But I also want to mention Bernie Sanders, who is beloved by progressives. The idea of also having him on, talk about the implication and the impact that would have, because he had tried to become president a couple of times, and his message does resonate with some people, but not with the core of the Democratic Party. Talk to us about the fact that, look, he's now praising Harris, the implication and the impact that will have.
Well, the impact of that is that Bernie Sanders, which is, I will say, he's almost the leader of the progressive movement in the United States of America. He's an independent. He was Democratic before, but he now runs as an independent senator, which allows him to speak freely to any party and to any power that may be. Now, someone like that coming out to actually telling you clearly that he will do everything in his power to ensure that Donald Trump does not become president and Kamala Harris becomes the president in the next 11 weeks or so, it's a big deal, because the progressives, who are both Republicans, independents, and Democratic Party members, will always believe in what Bernie Sanders says. He's one of those politicians that speaks to the layman, that speaks to the ordinary folks on the streets, right? And so people see him like that. Bernie is about 82 years old or something like that, and he's still actively involved in politics, sharp as a razor. So when he stepped on that stage yesterday and spoke, America listened. And that makes a big difference. And we're seeing Republicans who are Republican Party members who spoke at the DNC convention. That's a lot. You don't normally see that. It's a movement taking place. voting blocks that would normally not vote. We see young people coming out. Africans in the diaspora. There's a group called the Africans in the Diaspora. There's a Bind Pack. These are all Africans who would normally be relaxed and chilling and not getting involved. They are fully involved in creating a momentum to get people out to vote. And this is across the country. Precious, it's a new day, like Barack Obama just said. America's ready for a new chapter.
But the race is not just about getting Kamala elected as president. I mean, it also has to do with the House of Representatives and the Senate. And I know that, the Senate Democratic leader, Chuck Schumer, spoke to that when he talked about, Kamala Harris not being able to do it alone. And he called on voters to elect another Democratic majority to the U.S. Senate. And I'm sure that the House of Reps will also be looking, to getting that done as well, having a majority for Democrats. But can Kamala Harris build a coalition that doesn't just get her elected, but also gives her the majority both in the House of Reps, or at least retain the Senate?
Well, the anticipation is that if she does win, we hope that this will be the end of Donald Trump's era. And so the Republican Party can now get back into doing business the right way. Americans can now come to a place where there's no more the reduced amount of chaos in politics, right? The amount of fear, where there's a lot of diversity. People are just completely separated from each other in reality. So we're hoping that if this happens, the Republican Party in the Congress will wake up and realize that, what, it's time for us to serve the American people who put us in there. That's number one. We also believe that when we go in to vote in November, that people will also vote to ensure that the Senate remains tight and also Congress remains tight, leaning towards the Democratic Party, because we saw what happened to Barack Obama. He came in, initially he had it, and then at the second term he lost the power of both houses, and he couldn't do much. If that happens to Kamala, she's toast. So we can't afford to see that happen again, and we have to ensure that America has to go back to work, have leaders who want to lead, to enhance the lifestyle and the level of living in America for the people. This is a democracy. And
interesting you mentioned Barack Obama, the opportunity that he missed to elect a Supreme Court judge, or nominate rather, a Supreme Court judge, is the benefit that Donald Trump got, and he nominated 2 Supreme Court judges. And Democrats, are facing the brunt of that. But I also wanted to talk about how whilst the nominations, rather the convention was ongoing, Kamala Harris was in battleground Wisconsin trying to raise, she faced, I think, an estimated 15,000 people, and she's there trying to raise money. Talk about, that, I mean, for the Republicans, we know that Trump was there all through, but she seems to have, saying, look, she's not going to be there all through. She has to keep moving. Speak to the urgency, of this for her, because she has really limited time to work with.
That is correct. That's the word. Limited time to work with. The time is so short, 78 days or something like that. So she can't afford to sit down in Chicago watching people on telly, right? She knows that the work has to be done on the battleground states. And that's where her and Tim Walz, her vice presidential candidate, found themselves yesterday, right? In all the excitement going on in Chicago, she came to realize that, you understand, it's more important for me to speak to the people that I need to get out to vote. And that shows you the quality of a great leader. Someone who understands her priority, someone who understands the importance of what is most important, to leave the convention and go out there and speak to the people. And she did a great job yesterday in Wisconsin. So you can see that happen. That tells a lot, because the election is going to be won by a very slim margin and a very few states.
You sound very optimistic, but we'll see how things play out. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we will speak to you over and over again before the election, and maybe during and after the election as well. Thank you. A media analyst and CEO and Case Consulting, Ike Okwebili.
Thanks for having me.